Hey guys, Magna back here with another Legacy of the Void cast. Let's take a look at a game, another ZvP between Pseudorandom and Flatline. I'm hoping that a lot of people are wanting to see more stuff out of this matchup, considering between Protoss and Zerg they definitely did get the most changes. So I'm just trying to go off of replays that I have here and kind of mix it up a little bit. We'll have to see how these two players play. I did cast a Pseudorandom game here just a little while ago, so he is kind of becoming a little bit of a frequent flyer on my channel. But of course we do like those frequent flyer guys that do put their replays out there and let me download them and cast them so you guys can learn more about the game before you get the beta yourselves. Which is unfortunate that not everyone can play at the same time, and I know a lot of people are waiting for it, but there's going to be some impending changes coming here pretty soon. So we're going to learn a lot more about the game, not only in this current iteration, but the game's going to change a lot from now until release, of course. So we'll have to see when those first patches start to come up. By the way, this is something unusual we haven't quite seen yet. This is pool first against a Protoss, and it's also on a huge map, so I don't know what this is for, because typically if you go pool first, it's usually on two-player maps where cannon rushes are really easy. So the Protoss Nexus is actually faster than the Zerg's hatchery, as the hatchery does come down now. And again, like we talked about in other videos, Forge play seems very obsolete right now, so it is going to be Nexus first into Gateway from Flatline. So yeah, we'll have to see how this starts to play out, but again, I have to really doubt the viability of Forge openers in the near future. The Zerg openers really got me curious though. It's pool, hatch, and then a gas right after, which I don't know how well that stacks up against most of the things that are going on in the game right now, considering with these 12 starting workers you typically have a lot of extra mineral mining before you're used to having that. So you'll get to a weird point here where after you drop your hatchery, you'll have a hard time spending your minerals. So maybe he just wants to get the pool up faster so he can actually spend his minerals on queens and stuff rather than having it sit around. So that could definitely be a viable option. Grabbing these two lings, which are usually to go out there and scout. Right now Pseudorandom really has no idea where Flatline is. Could be one of these two bases over here, so he's still trying to scout out there with his Overlord. He's taking a third base here as well, so you can see him just going up to that 3 fast hatch like is normal from these guys. Flatline's also playing very blind. He has no idea what's going on the map. Just going for this blind one gate, or excuse me, Nexus first into one gate, making a Zealot here just to try to hold off any weird Zergling shenanigans. But on a map of this size, it'd be hard to do stuff like that anyway. What? This is weird. Overlord speed coming down immediately. So is this going to be for like a Nidus player or something? This is like the fastest Overlord speed ever. And this is on hatchery, by the way, so this is really, really fast. I don't know if I know what this is all about, but we'll have to see what the meaning of super fast Overlord speed is. I guess if anything, it'll get him a scout sooner rather than later. But the Zergling is going to find out pretty much the same thing the Overlord could have by just running straight across the map, so this is weird. I don't know if it was a misclick or whatever. Zergling speed's on the way, so that's obviously very normal stuff. Forge is on the way for Flatline, which of course this is not like a defensive Forge play or anything like that, it's just pretty normal stuff. Gonna start his upgrades here. Zergling gets in here and says, oh, okay, not really too much going on here to stop me, so I'm just gonna see what I can get. Does just go ahead and poke at a probe, kinda gets out of there, nothing too wild. Just trying to scout, see what's going on. He just sees one stalker, doesn't see too much. Protoss Nexus at the third base is coming down super fast right now, so you have to eventually figure that plays like this are going to be super gambly, because the Protoss unit composition right now is 2 Stalkers and 1 Zealot, and they're both just kind of wandering out on the map right now. All 3 units are, whereas if the Zerg just made a clutch of Speedlings, it'd probably just end the game, considering the Protoss does not have a lot of units right now. So again, like we've talked about a lot, pretty much every game, these games aren't going to be super serious from anybody. It's going to be mostly feeling out how the game works. Nobody's going to be running like 100% optimized builds because of how fast it can change. This random move out here is going to be crushed fairly easily once Zergling speed finishes. So as soon as we see that, this attack should fall pretty fast. Yeah, you can already see it start to fall apart as the Zerglings do just grab this Zealot. I'm not going to be able to kill these Stalkers right away, but another round of Zerglings should do it pretty easily. +1 armor on the way. Nothing quite yet from the other Evo chamber, so the build order from the Zerg is very unusual. Lair on the way as well, at the natural as we can see, so it's actually +1 melee. Not something you see too often against a Protoss as well, so this build has all sorts of weird caveats to it that I have not quite seen in a little while. He does have Overlord speed, so I guess if he wanted a really fast scout, he could get it whenever he wanted to. Zergling's going to poke up here, see what they can get. Of course, this is really standard, make a wall, prevent these Zerglings from dealing too much damage. They might get a probe here. Yeah, looks like they'll just get one and run away. So nothing too impactful happening on either side. But this Overlord speed is so strange. He's going to be able to scout pretty much everything, as these Overlords are kind of doing like the whole campaign AI Overlord style, where they're just fly him everywhere. So he's just going to see basically everything the Protoss has to offer. Most important thing he needs to see right now is the Twilight Council, and noting that there's really not any other tech on the field, so his Overlord's going to see that right away. And going to maybe see if he's chrono boosting this, or if this is for something else really strange. Going to be blink for right now, or at least he's showing the Overlord blink. Whether that's real or not, we'll have to see. Probably going to be probably just going to be regular blink. Robotics facility coming down here as well. Scouting Phoenix trying to figure out what's going on. Honestly, if I took the role of this Protoss, and if I scouted what was going on here, double Evo chamber, no gas spending, this all looks a lot like an Ultra build, but the strange thing behind this is that there's a Hydralisk Den, and that is done. As we can see, the Hydralisk Den was actually building over here on the side. So there's a lot of preparation that has to go into stopping any sort of weird Zerg tech, so he actually did manage to see the Hydralisk Den, so he should know. But the 1-1 melee upgrades has really got me scratching my head as far as what this is going to be. And I don't think it makes any sense to assume anything other than Ultras eventually. And one way you can get there is by springboarding off of Hydras, so that you have a way to answer any Stargate tech. 4th base coming down at 6 minutes, roughly, a little bit past that. That's super, super fast for a 4th base here, as he's not even really going to be able to afford the probes to mine off of all this. I guess it's the first patches are mining out his main. He can kind of afford it, so this might be kind of pipe dreamy type of Protoss expanding rates. I don't think expanding rates are going to be this fast once the game starts to stabilize. So definitely getting away with a lot of early beta liberties is Flatline, and just taking the greed to the max right now. Also, Templar Archives, Robotics Bay on the way for the Protoss as well, so we could either see regular Blink Colossus like we've seen a million times back in the day, but producing a Warp Prism is Flatline. Could be for disruptors. Templar Archives always going to be really nice to mix in for that extra Storm AoE damage. Still continuing on the melee upgrades. So this is 2-2, and there's even a 3rd Evo chamber, which is actually becoming fairly common for Zergs in especially ZvP, just to get all the 3 upgrades at once. Which typically back in the day you'd see somebody getting 3 upgrades at once for their units and say like, wait, what? What's this for? Here's something cool though. Something I was not expecting. This is a Lurker Den coming down here. He's going to transform these Hydralisks eventually into Lurkers. This is going to be really good against what the Protoss is doing because they're getting Zealot legs. And Zealot legs are 100% useless against Lurkers. They will get shredded up so fast. Basically not even kill a single Lurker if they're properly supported. But up comes the attack. Going to try to trade here the best he can. This is a really nice unit composition here from the Zerg right now. Especially considering he is ahead in upgrades. It is +2 for the Zealots, but also the Zerg has +2 armor, or at least will soon. So I guess I should correct myself and say that the upgrade advantage isn't imminent right away, but it will be really soon once these 2-2 upgrades finish. Still Flatline holding out pretty well. The Zerg realizes there's a base up here and it's like, wait, what? This is so early for this base to happen. The Lurker Den's about to finish, so we have to wonder if he's going to try to target this base down and then just get out of there and try to transform his Hydras, but he can't stick around for too long, especially at this angle, because Flatline can cut him up really easily with force fields. Disruptors are also on the way right now, so that'll be a nice little mix-in against this Hydra composition. But like I said, I'm expecting that to start to change once the Lurker Den finishes up, which is basically right now. So we'll have to see when these morph. By the way, if you can ever pick out the red Hydras and morph these ones into Lurkers, that's going to be a nice little bonus to kind of indirectly heal these units, considering they will always pop out at full health once they've morphed. So you can see these guys are morphing into Lurkers right now, getting the range upgrade for the Lurkers as well, which puts them at just silly range. Crackling upgrade once again, +3 armor. This is a weird build right now, and you have to say it's very susceptible to these disruptor hits if he's able to get big ones, considering he's relying a lot on Zerglings. So I'm a little bit surprised we haven't actually seen the Ultralisk Cavern come down from the Zerg quite yet. And we still haven't really seen Ultras mash up against Protoss quite yet from Legacy of the Void, so I hope we eventually get to see that. But something we also haven't really seen are these Lurkers against a Protoss. So he's going to move up here really quickly, see what he can get. Zerglings start to engage, the burrow happens, and there is an observer here, and there's like Infinity Storm, so these Zerglings are super weak. But look how fast these Zealots die. a couple of swipes from only 4 Lurkers basically wipes out like the entire Zealot force. Disruptors come forward, gonna try to splash on these Hydras. They actually kill the Disruptors, or they actually kill the Lurkers as well. But the Protoss has lost so much to his peripheral army, he's gonna have a hard time accidentally engaging this Disruptor. He still should be able to reinforce over this, so it's not like this is gonna be game over or anything. But it was nice and interesting to see those Lurkers actually get into action. Nexus is getting fairly low. He's not going to quite get it as the Zealots are able to pick him up and kill him here really quickly. Templars being rallied into Hydras. You definitely don't want to do that. Just throw down a couple of defensive Storms here. So Storm, Disruptor, Charge Zealot is the unit composition here from the Protoss. And on the other side, the answer from the Zerg is okay in the terms of the Lurkers. They're actually really good against this composition. But the downside is that all the extra minerals will have to be spent on Zergling. So you have to wonder if he's going to start mixing in some other units, say like Roaches or Ultras, to start trying to buffer some of those Disruptor or Storms. So there's a lot of Templar out here on the field, a lot of Disruptors. Taking a 5th base is Flatline, trying to keep up economically in this game. And the 5th base for the Zerg is now done. So this is feeling a little bit more like a normal pace as the spacing between the bases for the Protoss is extended to about 5 minutes, which is pretty slow for Legacy of the Void, but at the same time it feels normal considering these first 4 bases were so fast. So he should be able to transfer out to this extra base and keep him on 3 bases worth of mining for quite a while, and he canceled a bunch of these Lurkers, adding the Ultralisk Den instead, which is what we've expected for quite a little while. There's a lot of Templar here, even adding cannons. It's not something we've really seen before. These Lurkers will outrange these cannons, not like it's really going to matter right now. A couple Disruptors roll forward, trying to get some decent hits here. They do okay. They do get sacrificed, so probably a fairly even trade. Watch how fast these Zealots die once again to these Lurkers. They just totally melt. So the Protoss army is just 100% gone right now as the Zerg just rolls through. Here comes a Disruptor. He's not paying attention. It's going to be a big hit and actually waste all the Hydras really, really quickly. You can reinforce over this probably with some Charge Zealots, but the issue still is that these Lurkers are basically going unanswered right now. Another Disruptor heads down here, going to try to blow up on these Lurkers. Does get a couple of them. Some High Templars are hanging out here as well, so he can storm on top of these if he wants to. But again, if these Zerglings are able to surround, they will die, but they're still going to do their job, which is basically buffer against all these Zealots. So look how awkward this battle is right now. A handful of Hydras and 2 Lurkers versus basically nothing from the Protoss until he's able to get the rest of these out. He does awkwardly overcharge, and this is such a strange way these battles have actually unfolded, just kind of falling apart in several different directions. So some interesting stuff going on here. There are some DTs on the map here going to go ahead and snipe these Lurkers. So once again, if the Zerg is not rolling around with detection and they're not protecting their Lurkers, and the DTs can just roll in there and clean stuff up. So some interesting answers happening on both sides right now. Here's chitinous plating, here's +3 missile attack. The Zerg has a lot of money right now, so we'll have to see if they're able to start getting out some Ultras and start to fill out this composition a little bit. And right as I say that, or rather in the middle of that sentence, Ultras start to come down. More Lurkers on the way as well, so the strategy is going to be Lurker Ultra, which is something that you would only really see in Brood War. And Vipers also being added to maybe add some blinding clouds, maybe use some of those poles on some more important units such as the Disruptors to make them waste it. But the weird thing about that is if you pull a Disruptor and they just activate it before it dies, then you just pulled basically an active bomb in the middle of your army. So that I don't really know how well these Disruptors or rather these Vipers are going to work in these battles, considering there's not really too much to pull and there's not really too much to blinding cloud. So we'll have to see. A little bit of harassment going on here as well, or at least I guess that was just an Overlord. These probes just kind of AFK right now. They're taking a lunch break and not really telling their supervisors. That's not very nice of them, considering they are relying on them being at work. That's why you hire these guys, is to keep them busy. But the Ultra's starting to roll out here. Lurker's rolling out here as well. The Protoss unit composition is just so bad against this right now, considering they don't really have a lot of tools to deal with these Ultras. Of course, the Disruptors will do okay, considering they are just one big damage at a time, versus a lot of tiny little bits of damage. It's one Archon getting Brave here, a little bit of a surround here from the Stalkers and stuff from the back. So the Ultras are at least kind of stuck in one spot here. Just come up here and blow up a couple of Disruptors. They don't really do much. The Lurkers start to come forward and really kind of rip up these Stalkers. So the Ultra Lurker strategy really starting to shine through as the Protoss is basically down to nothing. He does have an okay bank, but I still don't think this is enough bank to hold off this army if you were even able to get that done. So trying to be really desperate about this, warping in some DTs. Now the Lurkers can't be seen because there's no observer near these, so the Lurkers really just damaging as much as they want. Flatline's looking pretty dead here, and the Zerg especially showing a really cool unit composition. of Lurkers with a lot of cracklings into Ultralisks, showing the flexibility of this new Zerg arsenal in Legacy of the Void. And the Protoss kind of experimenting a little bit, a lot of storms, a lot of stuff like that. Not really a lot of stopping power in their army, but still trying to go fairly gateway heavy and see what they can get done. Flatline knows he can't stop this army right now, and so he just sacrifices these 2 bases. Maybe going to try for just one big final attack and see if he can kill the Zerg army once and have enough momentum to get back across the map. But we'll have to see, especially since this one Colossus, normally the one Colossus would change quite a bit, but considering it's Ultras and Lurkers on the map, not really going to do too much, especially with their nerf damage output for Legacy of the Void. So some definitely desperation here coming down from Flatline, but like I said, you're going to see a lot of this in this game, especially in beta, where people just want to try out new stuff for a little while and see how it feels and how it handles. Lurkers and Ultras, or at least the Ultras and Hydras, rolling up here right now, trying to get as much done as they can. Good choke here for the Protoss to at least try to pick at these a little bit, but the poles are going to be crazy, the blinding clouds are going to be crazy. 2 disruptors sit in the middle of this army right now. Actually do pretty well against these Ultras, so these first front line of Ultras is going to fall without doing too much. Pulling the Colossus in, they kill that right away. The Ultra's still doing really well, actually. Some storms being dropped on these, getting a little bit desperate. The Immortal activates his Hardened Shield, so nice little time to play there. But these Lurkers, if you ever can lure an army back into Lurkers, there's no question that battle's going to favor you every time. Probe's getting absolutely slaughtered by these Lurkers. One of these guys got to have a ton of kills. Only 13, not too much. But the Protoss is reduced down to 1 base's worth of mining right now, and any hope of a comeback is pretty much gone by this point. But yeah, these Lurkers are definitely the reason why I wanted to showcase some of this game, and that is because Lurkers are really, 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 really good. I should have said ridiculously in there as well if I wanted to be cool, but I guess I'm not about that whole scene. DT's trying to focus down some bases here for Flatline, but Zerg can almost do whatever he wants. He could lose his base, lose all these drones, and still it wouldn't matter because the remax from the Zerg, if he can ever get these Lurkers up in a decent position, there's just nothing left for the Protoss to be able to stop something like this. So it's going to be the last campaign mission from the Protoss in Wings of Liberty, where they just basically die to a jillion Zerg units, and they have like 3 or 4 units left desperately trying to hold the lines, but they will eventually die here in just a moment. So we will see the final death of the Protoss here as the Zerg does just rally up forward and get ready to slay that nerd. So Lurker's hanging out here on the side. There's really no option for the Protoss right now. Zerg really just taking their sweet time, maxing out here and getting ready to pummel the Protoss down. He's actually checking for extra bases here. Of course, he should already know that there is nothing down there considering he can see with the watchtower. Ultralists start to come up here. Some storms being thrown down, just trying to do his best to mitigate this damage. The Ultras don't want to get stuck in a time warp here, so they're just walking right through and saying, you know what, I'll just walk right through that, get right on top of your army. Zergling's coming up from behind, and it was only half of the Zerg army still just crushing down this Protoss army right now. All of them were targeted on the Colossus, so these 2 Archons were like, we should be dead, right? All these probes dying instantly, so yeah, there's the GG finally here from Flatline. So Zerg pulling out a lot of really cool new tricks. Protoss is looking fairly the same, but Zerg is looking very strong right now, guys. And you can, if you watched all the replays from today, I guess you would probably agree with me, considering 3 of them were Zerg, and the Zergs look very strong in each of them. So, hope you guys enjoyed that game. Hope you guys are getting some good insight on how Legacy of the Void is working right now. Like I mentioned before, I'm expecting some patches to come up here fairly soon to start to change the game a little bit, so I will comment on those and have more games for those when that starts to happen. But in the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll be back with more videos really soon. Go ahead and subscribe if you're not already. It definitely helps me out as far as getting the traffic in there and kind of legitimizing my replays and whatnot to other people so I can get more content for you. So yeah, check that out. I'll be back really soon with more videos. Take care, guys. I'll see you later.